Hi everyone. Just like to introduce who I am. If you don't recognize me behind our mask, being we are masking these days, I'm Sister Judy, and I'm stationed here at St. Joseph Regional School in Summers Point. I've been ministering here for about 26 years, and I'd like to share with you a special guest that I have here with me today. We are in the back of our school in a special area called our St. Francis Corner. St. Francis Corner is a very peaceful environment that we've created for the students to be able to gather when they are here at school, and for any families that wish to be here, after school hours. We're surrounded by God's beauty, okay? During this month of November that we're celebrating right now, All Saints and All Souls, our special guest has a very special connection with someone who has the possibility, very strong possibility, of becoming a saint in our church, which is a very high honor. Our special guest I'd like to introduce is Mrs. Patricia McCafferty, and she has grandchildren and nieces and nephews, family relatives that are also in our school, which makes this connection even more special. Mrs. McCafferty's brother, Father Bill Atkinson, which she will explain a little bit more in a few moments, is a very special individual. He was an Augustinian priest stationed up in our Philadelphia area, taught and ministered up there, and he is right now in a special way being looked at through the church as becoming a saint in our church. And I think it's really important, and I speak to all our families and our students who will be seeing this video. Think about it. When is the last opportunity you've had to know someone, to know of anyone that's still living, that has the possibility or has someone that is reaching this level of sainthood in our church? So as we continue to celebrate this month of November and remembering all the men and women in our lives that are in heaven with God, and all of those that have gone before us that are already received this special canonization of sainthood, pray to them, think about them, ask them to be with you in these days ahead, especially right now in our world as we move through this pandemic, that they will embrace us and give us the strength and courage. And you're going to hear that strength and courage through the story of Brother Bill, Father Bill, and as Mrs. McCafferty expresses that to us. So I'd like to welcome Mrs. Patricia McCafferty to our special day of sharing. And Pat, could you just share with our families a little bit about your brother's life and maybe your family growing up, and then we'll move from there.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pat Atkinson McCafferty, and I am the youngest sister of Father Bill. We're one of 7 children, and we grew up in a small house, a row house, outside of Philadelphia. And Father Bill was the third. He was a great big brother. He was my older brother, and he was very quiet, but he always, included my twin and I in everything that he did, whether it was going to church or to the social center, which was part of St. Al's School, to see him play basketball. So when he went through St. Al's grade school. He went to Monsignor Bonner High School in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. And upon graduation, he came down to the shore and he told our mom and dad that he wanted to enter the Augustinian order. Much to all of our surprise, we didn't know, but that was Bill. He was quiet about things. So in the fall of 1964, when he was just 17 years old, he entered the priesthood. And the first year is, the boys are asked throughout the year whether or not this is really what they want to do. And then they continue on to the novitiate, which brought him to the fall of 1964, 1965. And Bill was very energetic. He was very athletic. he had a lot of girlfriends and that he had to say goodbye to, but he felt a calling from God to enter the priesthood. And this is called a vocation to the priesthood. So in February of 1965, Bill volunteered to shovel snow to the, where he was. There was a convent next door to help these sisters out there. And the location was in Staten Island, New York, where it's very hilly and snowy. And he did that, and 3 of his fellow seminarians also helped out. And so they had the afternoon off, and they wanted to go tobogganing. Tobogganing is a kind of sled that has a little curve to it. And back then they weren't very big. And the kids didn't wear helmets then, which I want every one of you to always wear a helmet wherever you're going. Whether it's bike riding, doing some contact sport where you're going to have a head injury. Anyway, the boys were going down a hill, and that hill became faster, and then they wanted to go across the football field, and then they wanted to go down to another hill. So they made that through perseverance. Bill was in the front. He was the athletic one, so they put Bill in the front, and he kept on doing that, and he went down the second hill, and there was fresh snow there, and it came up into his face. And we were told there was only one tree on that path, and he hit the tree, and he broke his neck. And when someone breaks their neck, there's a spinal cord that holds all the nerve endings, where the brain tells the body to move and stuff like that, and that was severed. So Bill was immediately taken to the hospital in a station wagon. Back then there was no ambulances that could get up there. So he went to the hospital, and he didn't make it, but God brought him back. And so he survived the accident. He was in New York for about 4 months, and then he came to the Philadelphia area to become stronger. And it's called therapy. It's called physical therapy, and that was at McGee Rehabilitation Center in Philadelphia. And so after surviving the accident and getting better, he was asked by the Augustinian order, "Do you want to pursue your vocation to the priesthood?" And he said yes. So Bill, instead of going back to New York, he stayed at Villanova to have his novitiate year to prepare him for the priesthood. And that took place over the next 9 years. So when it came time for him at the end of his studies, there was a question of whether or not he could say Mass, or if he could even be ordained to the priesthood, because he could not hold the Holy Eucharist. So at that point in his life, he needed permission by the head of our Catholic Church, which is our Pope. And back in 1974 or 73, it was Pope Paul VI. And I don't know if you want to go further or... back then, I want to add, Father Atkinson had his accident, excuse me, at the age of 19. And I was in 5th grade when that happened. If I can just flash back a little bit. What I have to say, the first time I saw my brother was at McGee Rehabilitation Center. And I walked in with my twin brother, who was a little overweight at the time. And Bill was super. He looked at us, even though back then, because he couldn't move, he was on a bed that the doctors had to flip him every 2 hours. He was facing down and then facing up. So when I walked in, he was facing down, but he could hear me. And he said, "Hi, Patty, how are things?" And then he looked at my brother. He says, "Oh, we have to do some jumping jacks right now." And so my brother, I didn't know who to feel sorry for, my brother in the bed, or my brother who has to do 100 jumping jacks. And my brother Ed, my twin, did the 100 jumping jacks, because when Bill said something to us, he meant it. So I knew my brother Ed wasn't going to get out of this. So in any event, as a little girl, I saw what a great person he was, even at that moment, as a 10-year-old, where you can see faith in God, hope, that things will get better, and you have to just persevere in life. So moving forward now, he's around 27 years old, and it's time for him to find out, will the Catholic Church give him permission to be ordained into the priesthood? So he wrote this letter to our Pope at the time, and I just want to read a little bit of it to you. And it could help you later in life where you might have a struggle with something, or maybe you're studying for a test, or someone you love is ill, that you can get through it with God's love and faith, because we all have a purpose in life. And so here we go. This was written in July 1973, and it was written to His Holiness Pope Paul VI, who is our Pope, who was our Pope back then, and he lives in Rome, Italy, Vatican City. Most Holy Father, it is with great humility that I take this opportunity to petition Your Holiness to consider my request for ordination to the sacred priesthood. Since I can safely assume that you are already aware of most of the facts concerning my case, I will only add my own personal spiritual reflections on what I believe and hope to be the vocation to which Jesus our Lord is calling me, and the apostolate of service to the priestly vocation. In the long months of recuperation after my accident, I was not only blessed with much time and silence for prayer and reflection on the mysterious will of the Father, but also I was exposed to the love of Christ expressed through others. The response of others to my situation assured me of the Father's love and turned what many considered a stumbling block into a stepping stone. Since returning to my studies and remaking my novitiate year, I have continued to reflect on those days and pray daily about my vocation. For my physical condition, the Lord is obviously calling me to a very special vocation, closely conformed to His own cross. It is my conviction that in this modern age, where the dignity of human life is measured by productivity alone, and where suffering should be eliminated at all cost, we must more than ever preach Christ crucified. We must witness to the world that it is only through Christ's example that we can be saved. That is, to be saved on Easter Sunday, each one of us must pass through Good Friday. I believe that my own witness to the world of the mysterious love of God working in my weakness can be of tremendous assistance to those people who lack faith, who lack hope of a better tomorrow, because they see and feel the despair of today's routine. It is with deep faith and with the certainty that God's graces, which has sustained me thus far, will continue to be showered on me, that I make this humbly request. Your humble and obedient servant, William Edward Atkinson, OSA, which means Order of St. Augustine. So, go ahead, sister.
So as you have heard Pat express about her brother, God's timing isn't our timing. God's way isn't our way. And I'd like to share a little personal connection that Pat made with me. 3 years ago, when Pat's granddaughter was in my class in first grade, during this same month of November, first grade celebrates All Saints. And her granddaughter was dressed up, and we were doing our parade outside, and Pat approached me because she came to see her and pulled me aside to hand me Father Bill's prayer card. And she said to me at that time, I just want to give you this. If it can help one person, that would be awesome. And that was the last time Pat and I spoke. 3 years later, which was about 2 weeks ago, Father Bill came to the foreground again. So God took those 3 years to plant the seeds that He needed to plant for Father Bill. And Pat and I have been speaking about her brother, about organizing this special little interview and prayer time, because Father Bill, I do believe, will be a saint in the future to come. You know, as Pat was just speaking about her brother's hope and strength and courage to move through the difficult challenge that he was facing and still pursuing his vocation, and deep desire to bring God's love to the world, I believe his message is for all of us too. In this world today that we are walking through, we have those difficult days, those difficult moments of challenge, unrest, many people very ill, and some, unfortunately, many have died due to this coronavirus. But we, as Father Bill, have to be strong for each other, keep that hope in our heart, and to keep moving each day in God's love. And where Father is right now, he's considered in the church what's called servant of God. The church has recognized his extraordinary life as a quadriplegic priest, and that he continued his ministry of teaching. He continued his engagement with his family and students, his community of Augustinians, until the day that God chose to bring him home to him. Because the work that God had planted at that point now needed to take root and grow. And I believe we are that answer. I believe we are the voice for Father Bill right now, to pray his prayer, which everyone will be receiving a prayer card of Father Bill through the kindness of the MCCafferty family. And continue praying to him, because in the stages of canonization, the next phase would be what we call beatification. So right now, Father Bill's life and ministry is being observed and recorded and read over and studied by many folks in Rome with our present Pope, Pope Francis. And then it will get to a certain point that if in all of this, what they call testimonies, that Father moves to the next phase, then the Pope will move him and elevate him to the next level, which the end result is canonization, which is an extremely honor stage in our church to be. And then we, as Catholics, and what Pat and her family have shared with us in the life of Father Bill, we can say that we knew him, that he touched our hearts, that he touched our school family. What I'd like to do is just close with a prayer that Father Bill wrote himself. And I really want you to listen to the words, because these words may ring true to you as well at some point in your life. It may not be right now. It may be a few weeks from now. It may be a few months from now. But God's timing, I believe in God's timing, is not our timing. He has a message for us when we are ready to hear it. So this is Father's words. I ask God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humble to obey. I asked for health that I might do great things, and I was given infirmity that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy, and I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power that I might have the praise of men, and I was given weakness that I might feel the need of God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life, and I was given life. I might enjoy all things. I got nothing that I asked for, but everything I had hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered, and I am among all men most richly blessed. So we thank Father Bill Atkinson for his life, for his dedication, for his hope for us all. And we thank Mrs. Patricia McCafferty for sharing his life with us. And we will keep you posted on Father's elevation as he moves to the next phase. And hopefully this message of God will inspire you and bring hope to you and your families. And have a great rest of the day. God bless.